Well, hello and welcome to the latest in the Aeroreels video series from HMG Aerospace. This particular episode is brought to you by the Inflight portfolio. Now, I'm delighted to be joined today by Alec Henthorne, Solutions Architect over at castLabs. Hi, Alec. It's great to speak to you today.
Hi, nice to speak with you as well.
Thank you. Now, for those who aren't familiar, castLabs is an active player in the software and cloud services for digital video markets globally. This includes aviation and in-flight entertainment. Now, as we know, the aviation industry has been largely grounded for much of the past 18 months, but that hasn't meant that companies like castLabs have been idle and quiet behind the scenes. Now, I know that there are some exciting things happening. So what's been keeping you, Alec, and your team of castLabs busy?
Yeah, so I think over the past several years of being involved with in-flight entertainment and building components out for vendors that work with that, we've learned that some of our products that we had there probably weren't as nicely of a fit as we would like. So we've taken the last 18 months or so in combination with our in-flight entertainment product and our cloud product and actually aligned a lot of the pieces there to build something better for both, hopefully. Some of these feature improvements include being a more lightweight product overall. So we've started to realize that this is a very shared ecosystem and a lot different for us, as opposed to like a cloud system where we can spin up servers at the click of a button. So we're realizing we have to be a lot more cautious with what we provide there. So we've completely changed our stack from a kind of memory heavy Java stack to a Rust and C++ based stack that's much more lightweight to run.
Okay, and obviously weight is a very important issue for airlines. I mean, sustainability and the whole environmental agenda that goes along with that. Although a lot of that focus is on emissions and the fuels and so forth, but when you go down into the lower levels, the granular levels of the hardware and software, there's so many benefits that can be achieved through having a lighter system, as you say there, and airlines are very conscious of this as well.
We've also learned there's been quite a lot of challenges in how we approach software actually being run on aircraft. So we've moved some stuff to be a lot more configuration file based, less based around stuff like command line flags. And really we want to make this as easy as possible to say, hey, this is what I want to do with my software, and I want it to run on this system.
I mean, in terms of the upgrades that you've given to this solution, has that been a natural evolution? Is this something that would have taken place anyway, or has this been a response to, as you say there, listening to your customers as well and being able to maybe move forwards with the evolution of what you're offering now?
So there's kind of two fronts to it. So a lot of the kind of business logic configuration side is definitely this response to customers and trying to make it easier in there. But the other exciting thing is how the in-flight entertainment space is actually affecting our like core cloud product too. So what we've done in all of this is we're actually aligning our onboard DRM core with our cloud DRM core and making that much more lightweight. So hopefully in the long run, this is one of those things that makes our onboard product better, but it can reduce costs for us on our OTT service as well. So it's one of these things that kind of we might not have stumbled into this as quickly without our in-flight entertainment product, and it's a good learning experience on both sides of everything. So we were able to kind of share expertise across our products there, and it's a nice change.
Excellent. I mean, in terms of what is taking place within the IFE market at the moment, we see there's been for a long time the talk of whether seatbacks are going to disappear completely in regard to the increase in bring your own devices. And we've seen a lot of carriers, particularly ultra low cost carriers and low cost carriers themselves, going towards the wireless IFE platform, being able to stream content to passengers' devices and bypassing the seatback. You've mentioned earlier on there about talking to studios. We've mentioned a little bit about digital rights management as well. What kind of challenges as a company are you having to address in general with regard to different platforms and this kind of increase in passengers putting on not only their own devices, but sometimes their own content as well, as you mentioned there with the OTTs? Watermarking is another big issue as well, I know, with regards to content. And that comes into the whole thing where airlines are offering gate-to-gate connectivity. People are being able to take that content off board really as well for a limited period of time as well. What challenges are you facing with regards to that, and how are you talking to the content providers and the studios to overcome this?
Yeah, so there's definitely like kind of two major sets of challenges that we see on in-flight entertainment side of things. So coming from the OTT world, we're used to mostly the content that lives on the device that like a potential pirate or somebody malicious is only on their end device, whether it's their phone, their laptop, or whatever. Um, and as like an industry, a lot of those things are standardized. So we know different DRM settings for say Widevine, Fair Play, and Play Ready that allow you to do certain things that studio require. And that's has been the case for quite a while. And at this point, it's more of a best practices thing of how to, make sure you don't allow Ultra HD keys outside of the most secure environments and stuff like that. But in-flight entertainment brings this interesting challenge where, especially as you talk about the lower cost things, where these servers are just like in an overhead bin, that there's a fear from studios that someone can just take that and walk out of the aircraft with the content on it and the DRM service. So there's this additional layer of protection that we've built out, and this is thankfully, and I greatly appreciate Apex for being kind in this, and there's been a lot of working groups, and I think as an industry looking the right way, but we have a set of security requirements on the actual DRM software and watermarking side of things on the server. So this includes like actually dealing with root of trust to protect keys on the servers, whether this is a trusted platform module or something like a processor's enclave like Intel SGX or something. We're working to produce and kind of extend solutions, I guess, more than anything, to kind of meet as many of these platforms as possible. And yeah, as you said, the other side of the coin is if you can't prevent it, what do you do in the other approach of, I guess, the legal approach if something goes wrong, right? So that's where watermarking comes into play. And this is also another set of challenges because it adds a huge step to the content processing side of things, where in addition to encoding, which is already quite a hefty process, you have to kind of do this pre-processing step for watermarking. But all said and done, we try to make this, once the content is on the aircraft, as easy as possible to put a watermark in content, so that if somebody's recording with their phone, they can figure out what plane, what seat number, what airline this kind of thing was on, if that's the requirement of the studio. And we work with some wonderful partners in the watermarking space, and have, I think, we hope to provide this complete end-to-end solution for the content protection requirements needed to satisfy studios in this environment.
Yeah, now, I know you mentioned Apex there, and I know that castLabs has been an active member of a couple of working groups on this very matter as well in the past, and obviously going forwards as well. So it's great to hear. I'm sure airlines will be reassured to hear, as and studios, that the content that they're offering their passengers is protected in all its many forms and guises, and that there is technology being offered by yourselves out there to help give that insurance to airlines and the providers as well. Now, something that's struck us during the lockdown that we've seen around the world is the fact how we digest and consume media. Now, this has seen a massive surge in the likes of Netflix and Amazon and people binge watching and so forth like that. It's also affected theatrical releases of new films and studio content as well. Now, one of the big gripes that airlines have always had and always spoken to us about is early window content. It seems now that there's technology that exists and has existed, and it's always been this discussion between the studios and the airlines and the guys like yourselves in between who can format and give these platforms and security there. What kind of discussions are you hearing? What kind of conversations are you hearing from the studios about being able to release or reduce this early window content going forwards? Because obviously one of their main concerns was the privacy aspect as well. And with the solutions that you guys have worked on and the upgrades that you're now offering, that kind of addresses some of those concerns. So do you think we're going to start to see content being delivered a lot earlier and airlines being able to upgrade and refresh their content on a more regular basis?
Yeah, so I think there's kind of, I'm saying this,
it's a big question.
Two sides to everything, but so for the actual like early release window content, so this content, I guess back in the day, the pre-DVD, Blu-ray, VHS, whatever format release, somewhere in the theatrical window of releases, right? As I kind of mentioned, some of those security requirements for both the server and the devices are required to even deal with early window content. The other interesting, I think, challenge that we've had some discussions with studios about is how to only limit that this content is playing in the aircraft. Because as you hinted at in your previous question, is this kind of gate-to-gate experience, and there could be a guy sitting in the in the gate, kind of talking to the Wi-Fi antenna on the aircraft, and you want to make sure early window content isn't there. So we're working with some studios there to potentially improve some things around, say, DRM license renewals, so we can be confident that only the content is playing in the air, basically. And so that's the additional kind of challenge that we're seeing from some studios that so greatly want to restrict who's allowed to watch what content. But the other side is actually getting content to aircraft a little faster. And I think this is one of the shifts that we're going to see in the industry over the next few years, is reducing that like content preparation window cycle. And there's so many players involved, and this is where I give our shout out to our partner Touch and the joint venture we found in Above. And this is the main goal of that joint venture, is to try to take those our long-term hope is to take those processes down to next day delivery is the dream, right? But
that would be great.
that would be great. So, but I mean, we're seeing this with some airlines, like less on the movie theatrical side, but stuff like maybe news or like sports highlights content, right? Like the soccer highlights in Brazil from the previous day, stuff like that. There's maybe a more realistic approach there. So hopefully these kind of things, as companies are learning about content delivery for maybe less secure content, so to say, studios will start realizing, oh, there's actually an opportunity there to get shorter content windows. Like, I don't know, maybe you're flying for a 1 week, 2 week period that this movie needs to be released on that plane, and you can cycle that very quickly. Could be an interesting shift in the industry.
Yeah, something to look forward to, and something to monitor as well. Now, earlier on, you mentioned, you kind of reference ultra high definition as well, and that's something we're beginning to see come on board airlines, with a lot of vendors on the seatback side bringing out ultra high definition screens themselves to be able to support some of the content that we're hoping to see phased in from the studios and other content providers as well. Given what's taking place in there in terms of the resolution, the quality that we're going to see, and everything else that comes with this kind of experience as well, does that present different challenges and issues for you guys as well that you're having to overcome and address? Or
yeah, so for us, it's the same answer. Basically, any of the higher quality content basically has these higher security requirements. So whether it's resolution, window, all of these things. But the interesting approach that I guess we've seen, and this is more of where we've kind of been working from our OTT expertise with our partners on, is the biggest thing for these IFE vendors is storage on these aircraft is the big limitation. We're used to storage being in abundance with things like Amazon S3 or cloud storage just being there, but here it's like you can only store so many movies. So this is kind of, I think, where castLabs player expertise comes into play, and we have a good grasp of what combination of devices you're trying to hit, what codecs work where, etc., to try to get kind of the next generation of content out the door, where hopefully the overall storage cost to the end user is not as bad as it could be for the additional resolution gains.
And one of the other kind of things that have come out of the pandemic is the fact that the industry is accelerating their move towards digitalisation. And it seems that the solutions that you guys offer as a company, and the partners you work with, you're at the forefront of this process when it comes to the IFE side of things, and also being able to increase the storage facilities and capabilities by moving things onto the cloud, which a lot of the industry is moving towards now, or thinking of moving towards, opens up the greater possibility of having greater content, different varieties of content, as well, as you say there, whether it's going to be like short programs or the bigger movies or whatever it is. And as we see with a number of airlines already, their content library is already huge, but it just allows them to maybe keep that for a longer period of time and enhance it as they need to.
Yeah, and I think that the only logical next step that we'll start seeing from this industry too is what we've seen everywhere else is data-driven stuff, right? Like, so airlines will know what content is being watched, and once the content preparation cycle gets down, they can, you know, retire certain things they license and bring in new stuff that they know might be watched better. And overall, looking forward to seeing like airlines and IFE vendors working more like OTT services
Yeah,
than kind of these catalogs that need to be long running. So
exactly. Now, when's this new upgraded solution going to be made available to the industry? We've mentioned there at the head of Apex, we're talking about it now, but you know, what kind of commercial releasability are we looking at for this?
yeah, so we intend to probably release a beta or so in the next month for our existing customers,
Okay.
with probably the full release coming Apex Expo.